Hey, fancy seeing you here. Hey, shorties. Welcome, welcome. Oh, I just saw myself on my phone. There's a delay. Yikes. Who's here? I'm here. We got the turds in the house. Yes, I am an empath. Yes, these streams do leave me drained, but I wouldn't change it for the world. So we've got LB's in the house. Hey, L. Good to see you. Tiff Knox. Holla, girl. Nick Francis, one of the amazing Mod Squad members. Adam Drives Helen, the guy behind the video, behind the opening. Turd Ferguson wrote the music and the lyrics. Y'all. Who else we got? Oh, me. I'm here. Anybody? Shorties. Yes, I'm a fucking delight. Right off from the jump. Demonetized. Don't care. And 100% going to get a copyright strike for that flipperhead video. But you know what? I'm channeling my inner Adam who got his stream taken down last night. Oh, yikes, Adam. C. Smith. Hey, how you going? Good to see you. Mark 844 is in the house. And, oh, good. Empaths are my kind of people. Yes, same. We attract each other, don't we? We also attract narcissists, but that's a story for another day. Hi, Robin McGowan. Good to see you, darling girl. Adam, YouTube is the man, and I say, damn the man. Yeah, fuck it. Oh, Poppy's in the house. Poppy, my baby dog. She's very enthusiastic. She's like that all the time. So here we are for a combined stream in Let's Talk, the Let's Talk series, and Adam dropped the playlist. I have a whole playlist of Let's Talk, where we basically, this was the whole vision for my channel. The true crime stuff is more fun. Is that the right word? I don't think I need these. More fun. Wait, it's going to mute me when I put these back. Hold your horses. We're not watching anything today. Did it? There we go. So I really want to be able to have conversations, start conversations and continue them, open the forum for me to facilitate people sharing their stories, talking about things that are hard to talk about, difficult conversations, and debunk, destigmatize, and demystify some of the stuff that society shies away from talking about because they're hard. Yeah, it's awful. So things like homelessness, addiction. We've had this is addiction and grief tonight, but I have got three purely addiction live streams. One with Katie Smith, right back in the very beginning of my channel, going to long form content, and then we had Paul O'Keefe's crotch, Tim, who's been off the radar lately. So if you're able to be in contact with him, I have reached out and said, "Hey, Crotchy, are you okay?" And he hasn't gotten back to me. So anyway, and then Amy in Boston, our girl, one of the mods, she's not here right now. But basically, and then I've done a stream on coercive control and domestic abuse and violence. And I speak to all of these subjects with lived experience. I'm not going to get up here and spout about stuff I can't speak personally about. So I open myself to you guys, and I refuse to censor myself. And I hope that doing so makes people feel like I'm giving them a voice. It also helps us all feel like we're not alone. And we can be in this community together, this Camp Shorty community of amazing people who not all of us may have experienced addiction or homelessness or domestic abuse and coercive control or trauma. I mean, probably everyone's experienced trauma, and sidebar, in my opinion, trauma is trauma. There's no hierarchy of trauma. If it traumatized you, if it affected your life, it's trauma and it's real. So here we are being kind and and supportive of each other. I've had so many people reach out to me. And then last week we went through ADHD brain. We went through grief and the 7 stages of grief, and it was, I don't know, if I can help one person, or we can support one person in chat or support each other, that's my day made. That's why we're here. So many people have reached out to me wanting to share their stories with me and with you all, because I guess it's cathartic for people. I feel like maybe this platform is somewhat inspiring to people to be able to want to speak about things within this community to help themselves feel seen and supported, but also to keep these conversations going. And one of those people who reached out to me is Lauri Life 360 for the win. One of the best names on YouTube, obviously, and also one of the most beautiful, kind, generous, present, wonderful people in chats. And I first saw Lauri in Melanie Little's chats back when Karen Reid trial was going, and she just spreads joy, I think. And it's interesting because from what Lauri's told me about her life, it could have easily been that she went the other way, that she went into sort of a bitter and jaded and walled off way of interacting with people. And it's such a credit to her that she's taken what she's lived through and experienced, and the addictions she's personally experienced and come out of, as well as her immediate family. And in that she's got some active addiction in her family still, and grief, a lot of grief. So I thought we'd combine grief and addiction and put them together and let Lauri share her story with us, and we can all support each other in this. Yes. So, one more thing, the thumbnail for today's or tonight's live stream, I asked Lauri, because she just radiates like sunshine to me. So I asked Lauri what her favorite color was and what her favorite flower was, because I had an idea to make a thumbnail that utilized those two things. And no surprise at all to me that Lauri said that her favorite color was yellow and her favorite flower was a yellow rose. So the thumbnail today for tonight's stream is that. And isn't it just the most fitting, most glorious, sunshiny, positive, bright thing for Lauri? No surprise at all. So without further ado, let me bring our girl Lauri up on stage. Lauri Life 360 for the win.
Hello, hello.
Hello,
I'm not
hello.
I'm not too loud, am I?
No, not at all. Not at
Okay.
all. Thank you
Hi
so much.
everyone in chat. Oh, this is so nice. I feel sometimes left behind because I cannot type fast enough. Like you wizards. I do the hunt and peck with my pointer finger.
And so many typos, Lauri. I'm like, no, backspace, backspace, backspace. I send.
Right, right. Yeah, so I just thought, and so I try to add things, in chats, and when it flies by, it flies by. Can hardly keep up. But yeah, Lauri Life 360 for the win just happened to stick with me. Of course, my first name is Lauri, but I usually or used to go by Lauri Girl. That's been my internet name for, oh, I don't know, 20 years. I mean, I've carried it on through, what was it? Yahoo forums, used to be in them way, way, way long ago. Yeah, I got left off in a lot of things. I was always the first one that had a computer. I was doing things back in 2000s,
Trailblazer,
1999.
Lauri. Yeah,
Huh?
well, trailblazer, you.
Yeah, and I was just, so up on it. Well, now I'm like in the dust. Definitely in the dust. My grandkids, they'll rip the phone out of my hand and say, "Grandma, let me do it."
Oh,
But
Tiff Knox has just said here, oh my God, your accent. My mom was from What's MN? My brain.
Minnesota.
Minnesota, of course. Yes. That's where you are?
Yes, I am.
There
So
you
I
go.
live on the shores of Lake Superior. I mean, not personally, but um, I live about 2 miles away from the shore. Great Lakes. Lake Superior is the largest of the Great Lakes. And okay, I shouldn't even admit this, but I live in a tiny town called Proctor.
Oh,
And it's very quaint town, a little, community, let us call it that. And I don't want to tell anybody now. Since the Karen Reed trial, I'm like, I live in Duluth because that's the large city.
synchronicity, Laurie. How about that? There's always something that wraps us all into this little world, isn't there?
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of your story, and I guess the greatest thing is during the Karen Reed trial, the pre-trial. I've listened to Melanie in other things. I think the first time I saw her was right after she started her channel. Um, Trying to think of exactly what trial. It might have been
Maya.
Charlie.
Oh,
Maya?
Maya.
No?
I think someone will know. If
Yeah.
Sarah in Shock and Horror was here, she could tell us. She's one of Melanie's most newest mods. So
Duluth.
congratulations.
Yes, Tiff Knox, Duluth. Um, I don't say you betcha anymore. Never really did, but we do have boats.
Every time I think of the actual accent of Minnesotans, I think of Beverly Hills 90210, and that Brenda and Brandon came from Minnesota, and they didn't have that accent. And I feel like my whole world has been rocked because that's not how you guys talk,
No,
Minnesotans.
not
Oh,
that's North Dakota more so.
oh,
But
oh.
I went on a vacation down to Florida when I was in junior high school, and my girlfriend came with us, and we were in Kentucky or Tennessee, and it was March or I think the end of March, first part of April. The pools are open, so hey, we're from Minnesota. There isn't swimming for 2 or 3 more months. We're going in, and and people are like, "Where are you people from? You don't swim in this. This is gorgeous weather. I mean, it might have been 50, 60 degrees. Wasn't
Ooh.
that? Yeah, it wasn't that warm, but for us, it was beautiful. And so when we told them where we were from, they said, "Is that near the North Pole?" No, there's a whole country between us and the North Pole. It happens to be Canada.
Oh, wow. And much colder. It gets progressively colder and colder. Yes.
Yeah.
I've been in Canada in January of a long time ago when I was 10, because I'm originally Canadian. I was
Oh,
born to Canadian parents, adopted by Australian expat living over there. And then we moved to Boston and lived in Needham for the next 3.5 years.
wow.
And then, so there's that synchronicity again, yeah, like the next town or two over from Canton. And then we moved back to Australia. But so we went back when I was 10 with a view to visiting the adoption agency to see whether I could get some information on my birth mother. And we trekked through, it was minus 40 Celsius, whatever that is in Fahrenheit. But, snow up,
20
snow.
below,
Yeah, yeah,
probably.
snow up to your knees, and we got there and they were closed for the day, the adoption agent. So we went through a massive blizzard. We drove all the way. Oh goodness. But yes, very cold, far different from what I consider cold in Melbourne, which is just a little bit of frost on the windscreen. So
Aw.
yeah.
But yeah, now I too have ADHD. Well, yeah, I'm going to say I do. I've never been diagnosed with it, but I am bipolar, medicated for years. Um, in fact, that's probably why I am sober today. Uh, Mental illness, it's so pervasive. So I got to try and stay on track. I know I told you I was adopted as well. That's a
Yes.
whole nother story.
We'll do an adoption stream, Laurie, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. I used to have friends tell me that Not like, is your whole life a soap opera? Or
Mine is you can't make this shit up, man. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I am telling you no word of a lie. I literally cannot lie. This is my story.
yeah, and that's the way I've always been. As I discussed with you, uh, I had a methamphetamine addiction, close to 25 years. The last 10 years of my addiction was intravenous drug use daily. Um, and I tried to recover, along the way in those years, but I could never string more than well, it seemed like I got to the 3-year mark, and then I would just say, "Fuck it." you know, it was like, my life would get somewhat better, but not all the way better, and I'd be missing the lifestyle. Gotta love the lifestyle, and I think you'd become addicted to that actually after a
And
while.
I guess as for someone who's ADHD, me also not formally diagnosed, but 100%, I'm neurodivergent. I'm autistic and I have ADHD. But the fact that methamphetamine is is a basically the an illicit form of the prescribed drug that is used to treat ADHD, I know for myself, and it's refreshing to come across someone who's been a meth person because I can relate. I can totally. I haven't been a heroin addict. I haven't been an alcoholic, but I
Right.
have been a meth addict. And I know for me, it's yes, the lifestyle, but the clarity that I got
Mm.
from mental clarity and the less noise in my head, the ADHD stuff, all focused and lays it in. So it's I do I miss it, but I'm a lot less time sober than you, Laurie. So yes, so intravenous too. That's a wild. That's a different
Oh,
kettle of fish to just smoking it.
yeah, yeah. Eh, I how do I want to put this? And there is totally a difference. My son, who is in active addiction now, and I don't ever want to say, nothing about that was glamorous or pretty. Uh, I've had a lot of people tell me that I don't look like I had a 25-year-old, you know, year old meth habit, let alone intravenous, good genes, and I don't know. But I know a lot of people that have smoked it for years, and some of their psychosis, I see a lot more of. My son, especially. And it's just been sad. And he says, "Well, you don't understand." I do understand. I'm only, you know, an eighth of a bag away from ruining my life, or a 50-unit syringe away from ruining my life. Don't put
Just
it in front of me.
to go back to your youthfulness, and I think, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but mine also. Like I'm almost 50, um, and I did some research right when I realised I was autistic. And one of the things in my very early first couple of days of googling stuff, I was like, "Do autistic people look different?" And there was the general consensus was, and I find this so interesting, is that autistic and neurodivergent people generally tend to look a lot younger than
Oh,
their actual age. And and that makes sense, sort of, because to me, living as a neurodivergent person in a neurotypical world, which is quite an uphill battle, that's why we tend to be drawn to addiction of all sorts of things, whether it be um, illicit substances or whatever it is, something to sort of give us some escape from that. But it's interesting that we tend to look younger when it's a hard life being neurodivergent. So, um, but sorry to interrupt you. It just
no, 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 no. Please do, because I find, I've just recently heard the term neurodivergent,
Yes.
and
People say
I,
neurospicy as well, but yes, neurodivergent. It means our brains are different, like they're literally built differently to
mhm,
neurotypicals. We require different things in life, And most of the world is designed in terms of work schedules, expectations, put schooling, all those things are put in place by neurotypicals with a different type of brain. Neurodivergent brains aren't better or worse; they're just different, and so it's very hard for us to exist easily. And social interaction expectations, all those things,
Hmm.
it's autistic burnout is real. So yeah, but
Ah,
you
interesting. So
so
one
you
of the things, oh, I'm sorry.
no, you go. Sorry.
Oh, so one of the things in Melanie's uh, chat is I changed my name, when they were talking about the 360. Well, I'll get back around to it.
We get there in the end, Laurie. Yes.
Yes, yes. So just follow along, class. But so I just thought, I when I changed my name and then I had to leave it for 2 weeks. And then I was like, oh crap. you know but I thought, no, the more I got into the trial and stuff, and the more I just what was going on in my personal life, and I thought, no, damn it, I'm going to keep Lauri Life 360 anyways, because I have one.
Yes.
you know um and they say don't ever say you're recovered, so I don't say that. And I do smoke marijuana, but I smoke marijuana or take THC, and that's mainly because I have degenerative joint disease. So I have a lot of aches and pains, and and being a recovering addict, they won't. Not that I would want pain medication, because when I've had surgeries, I've barely used it. I just don't like that feeling. Forget that. But I am a drug addict that will use everything and anything to the nth degree. But yeah, so I decided, no, I'm not going to change it back. I really, considering everything that I've been through, and like I said, it took me a long time to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. Um, and so I just, my last 3 years of use, I basically was on the run. I
Yeah.
ran, yeah, I ran to uh, my buddy, my partner. Not he wasn't uh, romantically involved, but we were making meth, and he had gotten busted, and so his buddy said, "Take her up to the range," which I did. I moved up there. I actually left my children. Well, it was just my daughter at that time. My son had gone to live with his dad. And so I left my daughter with my, um, I guess she would be like a stepdaughter. They were grown adults, and then I moved to a campground and kind of hid out there for a while until he went to trial and was sentenced. He took the rap. I mean, he never, he just said, get out of town, lay low. I did that. And then I met my fiance. And yeah, and our life together was very, very short, and I was struggling to stay sober up there. I wasn't using meth, but I was drinking, and gotten into a terrible relationship. Not terrible in the sense it just wasn't a good relationship.
Yeah, it wasn't the right fit.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother synchronicity thing, because who I ended up being with, that I loved dearly, was the spouse to somebody the jerk was cheating on me. So if you ever move to smaller and smaller towns, you find out that you're like 2 degrees of separation, not
It's wild.
my God. But yeah, and we talked a lot about it because we were both struggling to stay sober. I had kind of seen him around at meetings, but I was in and out. When I was in, he was out.
Oh, so hard to align. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and but from that first day when I saw him, so we talked about how crazy a relationship might be, because as addicts, I personally, I'll speak to only what I know, but even as in recovery, I begin to worry about the other person more than myself. And so, I couldn't imagine, you have two drug addicts, our drug of choice is different. His was heroin.
Oh,
Um, Mine
that
was
yeah.
meth. But when an addict is down and out, they'll do anything, and it just becomes this kind of pocket watching. Oh, I see you got something there.
You
Oh,
can't
it's
be around it. It's so hard. That I've said it before, but that voice of addiction screams the loudest, and it's
mm,
sitting right there. The only way that I believe that you can truly extricate yourself from that addiction and unravel yourself. Although I'm with you. I never. I don't. I'll always be consider myself a meth addict, a meth head. I just have to keep myself away, and the way to keep that voice in the distance is to remove yourself from any temptation. I know,
mhm,
and particularly meth is such a cerebral drug, right? It's so in your brain. Um,
instant.
and it grabs you. I don't know. You said you've been 20 years sober from meth.
Well, no, I've just been 16 years sober from meth.
Yeah.
Meth and alcohol, they went hand in hand for me. So, um, but and weed, I could take it or leave it. And like I said, I didn't start smoking weed, and it was mainly like vaping carts. I hate this. I hate this. Adam, you're gonna kill me. I hate the taste and smell of weed. I I don't mind it. Like if I walk into a head shop or something and I can smell the green, I love that. I don't like the burnt smell of weed, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I don't. I struggle with the burning aspect of it. Because of meth for me, I was a meth smoker. Occasionally, injecting, but mostly smoking. And it's vapor. It's not smoke. So for me, I can't do anymore. I used to be a mad bong head, weed smoker, sort of 20 years ago. But it's the smokiness. If it came in a vapor, I'd probably be down. But I need to get to the States, Laurie. This shit's right up my alley. Yeah.
Yeah, and it hits differently. For me, like my edibles go pretty much directly to the pain. I don't get feeling of euphoria or extreme like stupidness. I used to get extremely stupid on just smoking weed. My kids would just laugh at me and say, "Let's get mom high," because I would just sit in a chair and eat and laugh. So they thought that was uh, funny as heck. But
So, Laurie, Nick asked just a little bit a while ago, what was the catalyst for change then? Because it is like, I mean, it's pretty common that any addiction or toxic situation, we try to remove ourselves many, many times before we're successful. And you mentioned going to meetings and things. What was for you the line in the sand, or how did that look?
arrest, but that'll put a stop to it real fast. Well, my fiance passed away. Like I said, unfortunately, we discussed how crazy it was. But I tell you what, that has been and will always be the relationship that changed my life. And I had many partners prior. Um, I've pretty much well, I have been celibate for 19 years now since he's been gone. Um, yeah, it's just, he was the love of my life. And once you have that relationship, I think you feel complete, whether it's a month long relationship, 10-year long relationship,
Mm.
62 years like my parents were. I think you just, when it's done, it's done.
Yes. Is that within life
And
in
so,
general? Is that how you are? That you can sort of things might drag out, but when you make a decision on something, that's it. Yeah. Are you very resolute in
yeah,
general, not The addiction. Yeah. Same.
Yeah, and one of the things too, I've had to take this mainly in relationships. I don't know why it works in relationships, but the question of whether they're cheating or, and I used to question that in the back of my mind, and I just thought, well, you know what? It will come to the surface. If it's happening, you'll know. So, or if this guy before my fiance, it was like, God, why do I keep taking him back? Why? What are you doing to yourself? And I just thought to myself, well, you know what? It'll end when it ends. Just write it out. Because at that point I felt stuck with him and stuck in that relationship. And like I said, I was not a ton of miles away from home. I was like 65 miles away from home in the woods, but I was isolated. And so I guess, my fiance then dying, I found him.
Mm.
And
Mm.
then, and then continued to run for a little while longer. And then, like I said, I got arrested. And there were in the 2 years from his death till the time I actually got sober, just a lot of things. I used to call them my God knocks, um, getting arrested, uh, getting out, looking for a meeting. There's no meeting, just struggling, just kind of. Sometimes I think of groveling on the ground. Well, and when I got arrested in 2007, it was on my mother's birthday.
Mm.
And, I had finally kind of gotten back to my mom. She had seen me even in the few months before my Harley died. That was his name.
Oh.
It, she just said, I don't know what you're doing up here. She said, but you look so happy. And she was right. I was truly happy. We were just happy doing our thing. And when I did get arrested, like I said, after Harley died, my mother actually had me because I couldn't speak. You were talking about the pain with your husband, and I couldn't speak. It hurt in my heart. And I thought, what is going on? I just cannot. I I thought my heart was going to explode. And my mom, she was just so poignant. And she said, one of the things that Harley was so afraid he'd be alone when he died, you know, and I was there for him, because I have to back it up a little bit. He was very sick, in and out of recovery. But his one thing was before we got together was that he would die alone and never find his soulmate. You know, even though he had gotten married and had kids with some other woman, and they were friends, but yeah, he just, we completed each other. And so when he had passed away, and I called my mom, and I just said, and she says, I said, Mom, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And my heart physically hurts. And, um, and she said it to me, and she just said, Lauri, it's not about what you lost, but what you gave to Harley. And something to that effect. And it was just like all of a sudden it kind of pulled me out. She goes, I want you to pack a bag and come spend a week or whatever, and I went back to my mom and dad's, and they loved on me. They didn't, I mean, they knew the lifestyle I was living. They didn't like lecture me or tell me how terrible I looked, even though many other people did, they just loved on me, and they knew that something was different. Um, part of this up to, I have, being a Scorpio,
Ah.
yeah, and I love astrology. And I've always wondered about the mysterious side of my journey. And my life has always kind of been this thing that I feel like I've always been traveling on that line between life and death, and the high wire act that I've of life, and I've experienced death, so many deaths, early on, significant deaths. My brother, an aunt, of course, grandparents, but I had a small family to begin with. And I've experienced every sort of death I think a person can. And I think that's what my lesson is here in life is I truly believe that somehow, whatever the agreement is when I came here, was that, yeah, that life, there's lessons. And my trip this time is to accept death, I guess, on every plane of my existence, kind of like, and they've not all been easy. They've all been very hard. Um, my daughter was excruciating pain. Now with Harley, when he passed, and his was an addiction, an overdose, but I anticipated it. I don't know if that helped. I don't know.
Well, you'd already
Um,
maybe started preparing yourself for that in some way.
yeah, yeah. My daughter's now. I was 2 years sober when my daughter died of a drug overdose, and that was very, very hard. But the thing that saved me there was I went to meetings, and I blessed the town and the group that I got with when I did go to jail, and I ended up like having to do, I think it was 4 months, but I did it like not in a jail cell. I did it basically in a, they call them here like first offenders. It's in a locked facility. You get out for certain things. No bars. Well, yeah, there were bars on the windows, but not the doors. But they were secure doors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that kind of got me back to Duluth because my biggest fear that last time was um, when I had to call my mother on her birthday and tell her daughter was in jail again. Was really humbling. And I just said, okay, I give up. Take me, do it, do with me what you will. I've had it. I'm just done. And I guess that's it. I truly believe that, uh, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired is when it's going to stick.
Yes.
Yeah, turd. Yeah, it was, it probably was the most devastating thing of my life, except the blessing that came out of it was my daughter had an addiction as well, and she was fighting, to keep her kids. And her husband had ended up, they were sober, they had a child. She had 2 children from a previous relationship. And she met somebody in sobriety, and they got together and had a child and then got married. But then that shortly fell apart. And she was really struggling. I was sort of struggling, but I had 2 years of sobriety now under my belt, and I was really, I was truly just sick. And when I quit, I was done. And so her kids were in and out of foster care for about a year, and then they said, you aren't getting this, and we need to move on, and you're not taking it serious. So, and then I just thought, God, I'm not going to be able to. What am I going to do if these kids are, I just couldn't imagine them being gone out of my life, my grandkids. So I had made the decision to take custody of my granddaughters,
Oh,
and I wanted my daughter to also get into recovery, so I agreed to live with her and the girls, and I would take physical custody of them.
mhm.
It was fine, for a couple months. But yeah, I found a jug of vodka in the drawer underneath the baby's bed.
Oh dear. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. And so I just, and the baby would have never gotten to it.
No, it's more that just that. Mm.
She was hiding it from me because she knew I'd
Yes,
kill her.
yes, yes. And that's the one place it's almost, yeah, wow.
But yet, it could be where the baby could get it because she was crawling, So, not that she could have opened it up, but I just said, "That's it. The kids are staying. You are leaving." And unfortunately, she passed away then, you know,
How,
about
how,
less than a week
oh
after.
dear, Laurie, that,
Yeah, it's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. Um, but the insanity that was going on at the time, um, and so I didn't really have a choice. It was either get drug into the insanity with my daughter and her kids in tow, or my daughter's got to figure it out on her own. You know, it's really hard now reliving this with my son.
yes.
So one of the best things that has happened to me, and I feel like I'm just running at the mouth. I
No, not at all.
apologize.
You're
I
not at all running from
apologize.
that. Can I ask,
Please do.
with how long ago did your daughter pass away?
My daughter has been gone now. Excuse me. It'll be 14 years in December 28th. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. And
Yeah.
how old was she, Laurie?
Pardon?
How old,
How
how old was she when she passed away?
she was only 22.
Goodness.
Yeah. And she had 3 children. And like I said, by the grace of God, I had physical custody of two of her two of her kids, two of my granddaughters, but she had 3 children. The father had the oldest. Um, so when she passed away, I raised the two along with the other grandma. Um, but yeah, so I've raised my grandchildren now. Well, I still have one at home. She's a sophomore, but yeah. So that was the blessing from losing my daughter because
Yes.
I wouldn't have stayed sober, I don't think.
No, I mean, that's
I
what
mean,
they
I was
call,
newly sober, so I don't know that I would have felt like I had anything to live for at that point, you know?
I think that's what they would call a Hobson's choice. You were damned if you did and damned if you didn't. And you
Right.
know, you made the best decision, I think, at the time. And as you said,
Yeah.
you've been sunshine out of that rain, heavy pouring rain. So
And oh
how
boy, did I get, I have to, the synchronicities. So, me and my daughter, we always butted heads. And but I never once told my daughter, I hope you have one just like you, because my mother used to tell me that.
ah,
And when my beautiful daughter came around, she was just like me. So I swore I would never tell my daughter that.
mm,
But I have 3 granddaughters that are like different faces of my daughter.
interesting.
So she has never left me, really, you know. Um, yeah, she's never left me.
Laurie, do you have a history of addiction in your family, in your family background? I know
Oh,
Amy Boston said that both sides of her family have a very strong substance abuse
yeah. Yeah,
lineage.
my birth mother, whom I found the day Jessica McClure was rescued from the Texas well. I'll never forget that day.
Wow.
I was speaking. She had called me, and they were pulling Jessica out of the well. I was just like, I still get goosebumps. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was just sitting there sobbing, both for Jessica McClure and my finding my birth mother. So, yeah, she and when I found her, she had been sober for 40 years.
Ah,
Uh, so she drank with me. My birth father denies any alcoholism, but I don't believe him. Don't believe anything that man has to say.
scoundrel, huh? Scoundrel.
Yeah, he is a scoundrel. But anyways, right? He's still alive, so I'll be. I have.
Great.
So I was born into a family where I just was raised with a brother that was 11 years older than me. But come to find out, I'm the oldest of, say, a gaggle of eight
Wow.
between my birth or my
Yes.
yeah my birth mother and my birth father. They were never together other than to consummate their relationship.
Same for mine. Going back to that neurodivergent tendency to maybe seek um, some solace in addiction, in drugs, in substances that take their mind off it. It's not surprising at all that your birth parents likely and all the way back down in time, if like
Mhm.
because neurodivergence is genetic, it's handed down through the generations.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
and as to and so it's not surprised that those things are like running simultaneously through your lineage. How about your adoptive parents and that family? Were they
No,
um,
not at all. They were not even like my birth or my adopted father was a lot older than my adopted mother. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, 8 years, 9 years, but um, and they were older when, like I said, they actually had my brother, whom I was raised with, was, oh, you're welcome, Miss Jessica. Uh, my brother, who I was raised with, was actually 11 years, 11 days, and 11 months older than me.
wow.
Yeah, now that was just something I figured out years after, people would ask me, how much older is your brother? And then they'd look at my mom and they'd say, your mom had him when she was like 12? Well, no. See, and now my brother was a family adoption. So my mother actually adopted her sister's child
Ah,
after she met my dad. But yeah, grew up in a wonderful family, and it was just me and my older brother, and he left, went to Vietnam. Um, and so it was just me and them living in the home, and I was pretty spoiled, to say the least. But the thing of it for me was, I think I always had this. I was missing something. There was always this hole in me that I tried to fill with men, with food. I mean, I've struggled with my weight all my life. Another good advantage to methamphetamine. And I always felt different. You know,
well, I think me
that's the
too.
thing. Yeah.
Laurie, being adopted is different. I mean, there were more people adopted in our generation than perhaps
Hmm.
probably these days. But being adopted, having that gap between you and your brother, made you feel probably a bit like an only child. Also, being neurodivergent, those things. Our brain actually physically is different. So that resonates with me too, Laurie. I feel you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I knew nothing about my family history, you know, and most like because I didn't find them till I was an adult. Uh, so I didn't know anything about the drugs and alcohol. I don't. I think my dad may have done more drugs, my birth father, than maybe drinking. But yeah, there's a whole story with that. It's weird too, because I uh, I had an incident in junior high school where I went to a girl's house after school, and there was a picture hanging on the wall, and I didn't know this person from Adam, but I felt like I knew him. Right? I felt like I knew him. Now, mind you, she was just new to the school. So she came from Minneapolis, which is about 150 miles from here. And I said, "Boy, that guy looks really familiar." And she goes, "Well, I don't know how you'd know him. That's my dad, and he's deceased. And, he actually was shot in a after hours gambling game in Minneapolis." I said, "Oh, really? Well, that's interesting." you know, just filed it away, didn't think anything of it, till I met my birth mother. And do you know my birth mother, was there when that man died?
Stop it.
Swear to God. Now, that leaves an imprint. Somehow, some way, that made an imprint on me. And the fact that 150 miles away, the fact that I mean, I wouldn't even know her. And I told her that story years ago. She couldn't believe it, so I did get to learn a little bit about my birth father just through her mother, who was a bartender. And so, of course, that's how, you know, this guy died, was in a gunfight in Minneapolis after the bars closed.
Goodness me.
Yeah, so and I've had things like that all through my life, whether it was after my fiance died. And I just, I used to, people had purposes in life, or I thought, they grew up, they wanted to be a doctor, lawyer, you know, whatever. And I never, growing up, I never thought I never had that. I didn't see myself being, I have a lot of talents, but a mastery of none. I can sing and dance a little bit, you know. I always dreamt of being a dancer, but never found out my sister, my half sister, owned a dance studio, taught, you know, 300, yeah, 300 students. She's a beautiful woman. We have a wonderful relationship. That was my sister on my birth mother's side. We became friends. We had a great life for many years. Another way that they intersected was she got sick and went in the hospital, my birth mother, in 2009. It was in July. And it was just weird because I was talking to my mom and dad and debating whether to go out there. It wasn't looking good, but my sister decided, no, don't come right now. We want mom to get healthier. Not even a few days later, my adopted father ends up in the hospital and dies. Like 10 days. I never did get to see my birth mother before she passed, and she passed like 5 days later. It was just like,
Oh,
boom.
Lauri.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh.
So when I think, yeah, it was like my fiance in 2007, my father in 2009, my birth mother in 2009, my daughter in 2010.
Oh, and through all of that, you stayed sober.
Sober. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chat was wondering, I can't remember who the first person, someone asked, how old were you when you were adopted? And also then, I guess, related to that is, when did you where here we go. It was Debbie Blair. There we go. How old were you when you were adopted? And then also Debbie asked, she missed the beginning, but Laurie, did you know you were adopted during your childhood?
Oh, wonderful questions. Yeah. Um, I was adopted actually at like 11 months old because I was born with a couple of different conditions. One was, they call it wry neck. I don't know if you can see, my head always kind of tips to the one side. Um,
I hadn't noticed, but I'll notice now.
yeah. So I keep trying to, I actually have plates and screws in my neck. So,
Oh,
and
gosh.
I think it came from the way that I laid in the womb. My mother was very tiny, petite woman, and I laid in the womb real like wonky. So when I came out, it was almost like my neck was attached to the shoulder, and
Yes.
I should have had extensive surgery, or not surgery, but physical therapy. But I was in a foster home, I was placed at birth, but I was adopted actually by the time I was 11 months old.
Hmm.
I also was born with a hernia because my mother says I was in a hurry to get out.
So was I, Laurie. We've got so
Really?
many. Yes.
Huh. Are we
Huh.
what they call Irish twins, maybe 10 years apart? No, I'm 60, you're 50.
Could be. I think we're soul sisters, Laurie. Definitely.
Okay. Well, I say and you are a ray of sunshine. I don't know if it was Melanie's chat or if it was, uh, were you ever a mod at STS?
No,
No,
no.
okay. But maybe I saw you in there, or maybe not, or Defense
I'm
Diaries.
around. I'm
Yeah.
around.
But you were always so welcoming. And I just thought, when I first came to YouTube as a watcher, I landed on the wrong side of YouTube. I
Where did
still
you
go
end
back
up?
there for the train wrecks, but
Well,
occasionally.
like Law and Crime and Court
Well,
TV.
no, it's not like the law tuber side. It's more of the crama, they call it, the
Oh,
drama
yeah, no.
plus true crime. Yeah. Like I said, if I want a train wreck, I go over there. Uh, well, I'm sorry, but I know I shouldn't want to watch train wrecks, but I don't gamble anymore, so I need to kind of like watch something a little ridiculous once in a while.
Yes, it's like to remind yourself that there are people out there and zones that are actually more hectic than
Oh,
your zone. It
I
makes you feel like
love I love our weird corner of the internet. I do, because we're weird but we're inclusive, you know?
yeah,
And yeah, I am I'm so grateful for all of you. Mwah, mwah.
it's just the most amazing thing. I feel like again I keep saying this, but I do feel like our little corner, the sort of like the Venn diagram of a few channels, like Adam Drives Helen, OB, Auntie Deb, me, that it's a quirky little corner, but
Mhm.
it's such a beautiful, kind, welcoming, um, thoroughly neurodivergent corner. Absolutely. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Weird
Yeah.
and inclusive, says Tiff Knox. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And that's where I am in life. I'm weird and inclusive, and you know, I used to tell my granddaughters will get, squirrely with me, and they'll just say, "Grandma, you need a man," or "Grandma, you should go out." And I'm like, there's people out there and they're weird. And I said, I like my friends in my phone better.
We like the fact that we're not in IRL friends doesn't make us any less
No,
friends.
no.
Can I ask you, Laurie? I'm intrigued. Like, your celibacy since your fiance passed away, and I'm not necessarily talking about the sex side of things, but
Yeah.
in terms of companionship, I'm not as I've probably dabbled in the sex side of things a little more, well, more than zero in the last 19 years. Let's just put it this way, or however long it is. But 16 years, I think you said. But But how do you cope with that, the companionship side of things? Do you get that from us? It's just not a romantic.
I do, yeah. And then I have cats, and I am the
Ah,
crazy cat lady.
how
So
many cats have you got, Laurie? How many
I
cats?
have two. I'm surprised,
That's not
actually.
crazy. That's not crazy. That's
Well,
real normal.
let us just say that this is the least I've had in a long time.
Same.
Yes, so I've been known to be known as the crazy cat lady in the family. Yeah. So I inherited one cat, which was my mother's, who passed away a couple years ago now. Um, and that's kind of when I came to YouTube, is like in 20. Well, actually, I was still working when the Daybell case, prior to the Daybell, when the kids went missing. That's, I guess,
Ah, yes, yes, yes.
yeah,
Well,
because I remember it was first week of December or sometime in December when, I just thought, oh, they got to find him. Chris, I don't know. It was a couple of Facebook groups that I had found and then was listening to, and, everybody's looking for Tylee and JJ. And yeah. So that's when I came to YouTube, and then the pandemic, and my
yes.
mother got
That sent everybody
sick.
into isolation, didn't it? So then that was your people, and then your
Yeah.
mother got sick. You said.
Yeah. Yep. So then I ended up moving in with her and taking care of her till her passing, me and the girls. Well, my father had passed away in 2009, and my mother, I told my dad that's, I got her. Don't worry. I'll take good care of mom for you.
Good.
And
Yes.
so I was there for her till she passed.
So you get companionship in other ways, in non-traditional ways, um,
Yeah.
and also, I mean, as you said, the love of your life. So, um,
Yeah. And, maybe it's a thing where my mother never thought I'd have kids because I really didn't. I wasn't. Kids didn't excite me growing up. It wasn't like I was the neighborhood babysitter, and you know I loved to babysit. I actually had very little experience with kids when I finally had them. You know, um, but I kind of ended up being a good mom and being and enjoying being a mother. But still I didn't want to do it alone. And when mine and my children's father's relationship, which was a marriage actually, ended, I just said, you know what? I've made procreation now. I procreated, and like I said, I was no wallflower in my early years, and and so it wasn't hard for me to find uh find companionship and that through other means, whether it's I have a long-term male friend. uh we met in recovery. I mean, I had a crush on him at one time, but and then he had a crush on me, but he has a past that's not so good. So he would never like want me like to be in his life because of my kids. It was just, but he was a good person, but got really, I'll make no excuses for him, but he made a bad decision and he's paid for it all of his life. And it was basically he ended up on a sex registry because he made a pass at a woman that was going to buy a bag from him. Well, her mother was in the government, like on the city board, and it's when the registries first came out, like sex offense registries in the United States.
yes,
Well, they called it lewd and lascivious.
yes, olden day words.
Lewd and lascivious behavior because he's told the girl to suck his cock for a bag.
I think that's a good deal, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'd
well,
do
he
that.
thought it was too, but she was a minor.
Oh, not a good deal. Bad
Not a
deal.
good deal. I mean, he wasn't really that old either, but I mean, times were different. Not okay. I have grandkids now. Uh, you know, I mean, when they talk to me, that's the other thing I'm here for is to kind of, I want my grandkids to have a respect for alcohol or drugs or, you know, please don't die on camera.
No, they're like they just got to
Oh,
you saying suck his cock for a bag, and then me saying that I'd suck a dick for a bag too. Adam, I can't change who I am. I'm so sorry. Like that sounds like a good deal. Win-win, really. Win-win-win. Everyone wins there. I win twice.
well, you want to.
Oh
One of
no,
the
no,
things,
I'm giving you my choke.
one of the things I found ironic. I'm not going to say funny, but when you talked about, being a call girl and nothing wrong with that, but it was funny because instantly thought of what I used to say. I'd say, if somebody offered to get me high, I'd say, well, you're fucking not getting laid if that's what you're after.
Yeah, give me the drugs, not the dick, right?
Well, well, here's the weird thing. Meth usually makes people crazy sexual. It doesn't for me. It
Yeah,
didn't. Well, I shouldn't
neither.
say doesn't. It didn't for me. It was
Neither.
like the last thing I wanted. That and drink. Oh, here's one of my. Is it Mr. Lucy?
Oh, Mr. Lucy. Was he Lucy and then you realized he was a boy? Is that how that went?
No, it was my girlfriend's brother's cat, and his name is Lucifer. But I
Ah,
refused to
yes.
call him Lucifer, so he's
Right.
Mr. Lucy.
I love it. He's beautiful.
And then I have an older 15-year-old cat that was my mother's, and his name is Dusty.
Oh, beautiful.
So yeah, Mr. Lucy had to come see what all the cackling was about.
Chat loves cat. Chat loves Mr. Lucy. Yes, we love
Yes.
furry friends. Absolutely. Um,
Yeah.
so, Laurie, you've got yourself, what you presume your birth parents to be people with addictive tendencies, and then
Mhm,
your children also both. And you touched on it before, but I know at the
mhm,
moment, in terms of as a parent, you've got your son in active addiction also. Can you share a little bit with us what that feels like and looks like in your life and for him? And
mm. Yeah, that's well, my son's been in and out of a lot of trouble. He's, my, one of the things I will say is personally for me, had I known about the mental illnesses in my life or in my family history, because there's just genetically that's another thing that's runs rampant. And I don't know that I would have had children.
yes, do you like
And
want to bring that continue that genetic line on?
yeah, yeah. And so, and I know I struggled terribly, even before I didn't know what was wrong. So that's why I started self-medicating, I believe. But you know, I let's see, where'd you go with that question? You were asking me,
Yes, it was a very compound question. I did a terrible defense attorney question. Um, uh, um, yeah, like how has that evolved, and how are you coping with that at the moment?
oh, with yeah, Justin. Well, I do
Mentalized,
compartmentalize. Yeah.
me too. It's the only way, Laurie. It's the only way that you can deal with these things, right?
Well, yeah, and so my son, like I said, he's been in and out of. He went to live with his father when he was 15.
Okay.
His father was in and out of my children's lives, but I knew almost every boy wants to be with their father, and I thought I was an active addiction, and I didn't want him in my business. And
Yes.
every boy wants their father or wants a relationship. So I did allow my son to go live with his father. even though his father wasn't much of a father. But I thought, well, my children are not going to believe anything I have to say about their dad. I mean, we don't. If we hear negative things about people we love, we don't we don't always believe the other person. We
Right.
we
Particularly
got
if
to
it's something
find out
you
for ourselves.
yeah, if it's particularly if it's something you don't want to hear, like, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like I said, I let him go live with his dad, and uh, that, he would come back. He would get in trouble with his dad. He'd come back to me. Uh, but the odd thing about it is his dad was not any better than anybody else. He just maybe hit it a lot better. I used to always have to explain myself. I felt like in our in the relationship where he's didn't give a flying F, and I always felt like I had to explain him or make excuses for
Excuses.
him, or
Yes.
yeah,
Qualify his behavior with some rationale, which is, I mean, that's human nature.
yeah. But so I basically let him go. He did end up coming back to me at 19, but he was in and out of jail and prison. And so when he got arrested on a drug charge about a year before his sister passed away, so that was back in 2000. Well, then he got it was supposed to be a mandatory, or it was a mandatory 10-year sentence, and so he was in prison, and he got out, and he was in a halfway house, but he wasn't supposed to be driving, and he was driving, lost control of the car, and he wasn't drunk or using drugs, but he actually had hit somebody. His car had gone over an embankment, and
Mm.
it was actually like, it was a bridge that had water, like two ponds. Oh, you can't see my hands. Two ponds on each side, and then there was a road that ran between them. And he lost control of the car and went over this railing. But
Mm.
there was a lady walking up the side.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
and well, he took off from there. I mean, he figured he was in a halfway house. He took off from there. He had no idea about the woman
Oh
because
dear.
the woman was below,
Oh.
and when the car went up, it clipped the top of this woman. But because he left the scene of an accident and there was a death, he went to prison for 5 more years.
Yeah.
So uh, he got out. I could wring his neck, but he got out and got a girl pregnant.
How long ago did he get out, Laurie?
Well, this was he had gotten out 4 years ago.
Okay.
So he had gotten out, gotten a girl pregnant, but then ended up breaking the law, some minor thing, but because of his past, he had to go do the time.
Mm.
And I just I I wanted to be there for him, and so he had this woman that he got pregnant, but she, of course, in the beginning of it, he's like, "Oh, mom, this," and I'm just like, "Justin, what are you doing?" This is before he got arrested. Well, then he gets arrested, and he's like, "She's not going to be a mother. I got to be a father." I supported him through that because I really felt like he had an older daughter that he missed out on a lot, you know,
Yeah.
and he couldn't, even though I have a relationship with her, he his and his daughter's relationship and the daughter's mother's relationship has always been strained, and I understand why. But he convinced me, to stand by this lady that gave his kid, or and I did. I love my grandson. I don't want that to sound terrible. So what's happened is, when he got out of that short stint and his son was he was going to be a father again, he turned his life around. I mean, I was just in awe. I was so, I mean, the motherness, the joy, and and I always knew he wasn't his dad, but his behaviors just drove me up a wall. It just he acted so much like his dad. And I thought,
Mm.
God, does this kid have any good in him? I mean, I have my fucked upness.
We all have our demons and our flaws. We're
Yeah,
perfectly,
so I can't
perfectly
always blame it on my ex-husband, but I sure like to when I have a chance.
scapegoat. Get him, Laurie.
So,
Mother.
but I thought, I'm seeing my son, and he started working with other alcoholics, and then it just, I noticed I ended up selling our family home because it was that my parents left to me, and it was just too much, too much, too much. And so I just kind of noticed a lot of changes in him, but I didn't want to believe it. I didn't think and this was last October,
Ah,
and I didn't want to believe it. And then I was kind of half in a move and half out of a move. I ignored a lot of the signs. Once I got into I have a beautiful home now. I have a double wide trailer for all you people. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a trailer park girl now. I go round and
love
round.
it. Don't worry,
But
Adam
no,
lives in a van. Adam lives in a van. We got this.
yeah, 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 yeah. No,
And I
I
live
live
in
in a double wide, so in a very fancy posh park. So we are a community. But yeah,
yes.
so once I moved last December. Thank God we had a um, mild winter. But and then I just saw my son completely. Thank God I had, so I could stop thinking about him and obsessing about what he was doing. And so he had a girlfriend now, and he's got a 3-year-old son. He's such a blessing. I love him to death, but his mother has, unfortunately, she never stopped during her addiction. In fact, has had 5 children addicted to meth. I
Mm.
just, I would, I really wish people that were like her couldn't have kids anymore, or they would put them in. I mean, I understand addiction, but she has done this 5 times now,
Mm.
not wanting to quit, not caring if she quit.
Self-destruct.
And yeah, I don't know, but
Taking
and
others with you. Yeah.
well, I was a party girl in like high school and right before I got pregnant. And I'm sorry. I don't know. I can see it happening one time, but I just get so angry. So I struggle. A lot of times I struggle with things, with addiction and grief. And my son ended up with a beautiful woman that is now raising my grandson. Um, Till he can pull his head out of his ass. Hopefully it's before prison or death. you know.
How old is your son? Debbie wants to know. And we all
Um,
know.
he will be 40 in February.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So his addiction is meth. Yes.
yeah. Yeah. Well, he's one too. Will do anything. And fentanyl is so
Oh,
prevalent. And
yes. Wow.
yeah, it's just so. Thank God for all you people who came along at the perfect time. Um, and I found my community. I am so grateful and thankful for all of you guys, and that's mainly why I wanted to come on, Shorty, because I just feel like it adds to the connection, you know? I mean, I feel the connection even like with Adam at night and listening to the radio. And I know that there's 5 to 10 of us all listening to the radio, or not the radio, but our DJ music. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's kind of neat. And if we have something to say, we say it, in
Mm.
the chat. And I just love that. I find myself going to bed, either listening to OB or Adam and that. And then I'll wake up in the morning and right away I'm checking to see is somebody alive or what did I miss from the night before.
Absolutely. It's a community, and it's like Tiff Knox said, it's a support system and a community and a sense of belonging. And not just, it is belonging, it's not just a sense of
Mhm.
belonging. And I guess what I love about this with you particularly is, and this is so on me, I kind of assumed, like I was so surprised when you messaged me or emailed me with your story. I had assumed that your sort of everywhereness and your what, like I saw you on Melanie Little, like gifting memberships and super chats and things, and I just kind of assumed that you came from a privileged, squeaky clean background with all light and sunlight and like good stuff, and it's even more just because of the good you were putting out, because so often people go the other way after so much trauma and heartache and grief and addiction. And it's beautiful to see you and to talk to you, but even just to know you and to know the real you.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I've said this before in other one of these Let's Talk streams, is that um, in our little, like in the free Karen Reed corner, or the true crime, sort of more strict true crime corner of YouTube, we all are talking generally about that stuff.
Hmm.
And so we know each other and we connect with people in those chats. And that's why everyone is here in our little syndicate corner of YouTube with Adam, OB, and Deb, and me. And Rabbit and Melissa Asylum, but to be able to connect on a far deeper level, and to find that not only do we connect on those true crimey stances, or our opinions on things, and following that stuff, but here we are connecting on such a deep level with so many shared experiences, or being able to identify with things. It's so special. So
It
thank
is.
you.
Yeah. Yep. So my granddaughters, I've tried to raise them with compassion. I'll tell you, I still walk that tight rope wire that I want to, 1 minute maybe smack somebody upside the head, but no, I want to be serene and calm, and I don't want, the wrist resting bitch face. You know, I I have to kind of force myself to smile because if I'm in deep thought, everybody says, God, don't you smile? And it's because I'm in deep thought. It's not because I'm angry. It's not because but I've had that a lot all my life. What are you so angry about or mad about? And it's like, I'm not. I'm just probably off in deep thought or who knows, thinking about the grocery store.
It's your concentrating face. It's your thinking face. We can't, like,
Hmm.
we'd have way more wrinkles if we were smiling all the time, Laurie. God.
Oh, is that why I only have the crow's feet and the smokers?
Ugh,
I
yeah.
almost panicked because as soon as we were getting ready, I was in the back room. I don't know if you saw me. I was getting up. I can't find my marijuana vape. I couldn't
Ah!
find it. I was just like, oh my god.
The panic. I feel the panic when I just can't find my own vapes. I'm like, where do I put them? So
Well,
yeah,
I
wow.
smoke cigarettes, but I don't do it in this part of the house. So I go by the window or my deck or so. Yeah. Well,
Did you
Ellie,
find it? Did you find it? Do you want
no,
to
I
go and
have found my standby one, so it
okay.
tastes kind of burnt. So I'll be, but
But
I did have
still.
a gummy. So,
Oh, good. Good, good, good.
but
Um,
I really enjoyed this. Any other
yeah.
questions or?
Well, I was just going to say, does anyone in the chat have any questions, or anything they'd like to say to Laurie?
Oh,
Um,
hang on a second. I got rid of you. Where'd you go?
I'm still here. I can still
Okay.
see you.
Oh, can you?
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
fun. Oh, I wish I could see me. Oh, there we are.
You're
Oh, there. Now I know how Melanie feels. Swipes herself right out of StreamYard.
Oh, she does it all the time. That's so funny. It is
So
funny.
the next time she does it, I'll tell her, now I know how you feel.
Absolutely. So people are saying here we connect on Darlene's the wolf. We connect all in all deeper levels. Yes, absolutely. Almost a spiritual level. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
it's a drawing of like-minded people. Absolutely, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Adam's
Well,
saying stress. That's about your THC vape. Yeah, Adam. Imagine Adam if he can find his bag and his grinder. God.
I think if that were the case, I might shove it in my mouth. I just start chewing on it.
Going on. Yeah, glory. That's disgusting.
Well,
Joe Biffle.
Dusty. Oh, you want to come up, old man, and say hi to the gang?
Yes.
Come here, Dusters. Come on, BB.
Joe
Come on.
Biffle's telling us he's got Moroccan hash. I think that sounds
Ooh.
hectic. Joe Biffle is that explains a lot, Biffle.
Come here. This is my old man.
Oh,
Can you look at
oh,
the camera?
Laurie. Yeah, what a beautiful boy.
Oh,
Oh,
you
he's
baby.
so handsome. Is he 15, Laurie?
Huh?
Is he
15?
15?
Yeah.
Wow.
Are you going to
He's a
bite me?
Get ready to clip it in case he attacks. No, I'm joking. Oh, Poppy loves it. And here's Poppy. Hi, Poppy. Hi, Poppy.
Oh, yes.
Covered in fluff now.
Yeah.
Okay, here. Okay. Oh no, I thought it was the question, but it's what's it to you, fuckface? Is the answer to that question? That's almost like someone telling you to smile. Yes, when someone says, women get it all the time. Smile, you look more pretty. Smile, it's not that bad. It's like, you know what? Suck it. I'm not gonna smile at you, and it's certainly not with that one. Suck my dick, mate.
Suck it. Yeah, I like that one.
I say
Here,
suck my
Lally. Sit and spin, Lally.
Don't put that on me. Here we go. Candy Temple says, "Thank you, Laurie, for sharing your experience, strength, and hope." Yeah, you are an inspiration.
Well, you know,
Um,
I don't go to meetings anymore. And why, I don't know. Well, you know, I actually, when I went religiously to meetings, you know, while the kids were still young, maybe the first 5 years that I had them, and I still needed the meetings. I needed meetings because, you know, it was all so new, and did them for quite a while. But then I think when my mom started having problems, then it just, you know, I was taking care of her. I got away from meetings, and now I recover in a different way, uh, because I do smoke, uh, and do use THC, and some of the meetings here can be snobby. I mean,
yeah,
Minnesota has been a medical marijuana state for a while, but it's only been maybe 5 years since then. And I don't know if the meetings have caught up yet, but I'm not technically in recovery. So I don't want to put those that find their recovery and really practice a recovery program. I guess I just want to be respectful in that manner, you know, and not that I need to share it, but I can't keep my mouth shut. So if I mention smoking weed, you know, I don't want to get the dagger stares or, oh, you know, so I just don't. I found people in recovery outside of the rooms, and so I stick with them. And for whatever reason, they don't do meetings necessarily. I could never do NA.
no.
NA meetings wanted to make me get high. Yeah.
In what way? In what way? What? How did that?
I don't know. Generally, there was not a lot of long-term sobriety when I first went to NA meetings in my town, so that may have had a lot to do with it. Uh, it wasn't just NA is far stronger in our town. I think NA has gotten better over the years, and now they have like they have the what do they call it? Celebrate Recovery, which is a religious based one. They have that, and they have a RAD, which is recovery. I'm not really sure exactly, but there's just so much more to do with recovery, young addicts, recovery programs. If I wasn't so busy, I think with kids and I find service work. Well, my service work is within my own family. I
Yes, that's a common theme in all of the people who I've spoken to about addiction and recovery has been
Mhm.
acts of service for others, giving of yourself rather than taking and sort of pity partying.
Yeah. So while my son's out there, I'm helping out his girlfriend who has taken on the role of my grandson's mother. And just helping her, helping, my neighbor, helping anyone. I guess if my granddaughter brings home a stray, and I have extended family. It's gotten scarier in the last few years. I don't. A lot of my recovery friends are gone, or the people that I was, growing up in recovery with have passed on. So, a lot of life's changed so much. And uh, you guys have just saved me from just probably going insane because it does, it gets to me. And I, I would think about before going back to Melanie's, and the Karen Reed case, I was just, constantly looking at my phone, waiting for a message you know, or he would message me and I'd get so angry because it was full of lies, and I just like, God, it's a good thing you're not here. I'd shake the shit out of you, that kind of feeling. And, but you guys kept me, where I finally just said, I can't listen to that anymore. I just have to put my phone away. He's not gonna, and that's what I told him. Don't contact me until you check yourself into treatment. I'm sorry, I love you, but I can't take all this, oh, I'm gonna do better, mom. I'm gonna do different, mom. You know? Uh yeah, it was just like, ugh. And so I can't help him unless I stick to my guns.
Well, absolutely, because enabling or I mean, and he's a grown man,
Yeah.
what
Hmm. Well, yeah,
goodness.
and part of it is, I'm really proud of Dawn because she's really setting some boundaries for Justin. But like I told her, I says, you have got to stick to them. And she's new in recovery. Well, newer. She's got 4 years, but she's got a past. Her and my son were meant to be together. And I hope they find their way back to each other.
Mm,
Because I think they'd make an awesome couple, but she'll make a great mother to my grandson. And like I've told my son, I can't raise any more kids, but I'll sure help her do it, you know,
yeah.
because that's where I find it's odd because back to the beginning of the conversation where I started and darted off somewhere, but my solace, my you know line in the sand is being there for my grandkids,
Yes.
and I want them to walk in life with their eyes open
Yes.
and know the struggles of addiction, and know, it doesn't matter what I do with my life or what I mean, it does, but in the grand scheme of things, even with addiction and mental health, they were born with those things, I believe. And what they choose to do with it, or what they learn to do with it, is going to be, their saving grace, or their reason for not using. And hopefully, I've taught my granddaughters, to ask for help, to seek help, to get help, that it's okay not to. My one granddaughter, she doesn't want kids. She is actually, she's a lesbian, and she doesn't want to have, even in a relationship. I says, honey, you can, adopt. One
Yeah.
of you could carry the other one. No, I want no kids. She looks over at my grandson Ethan and says, he's the best birth control I could ever think of.
I mean, yes, strong deterrent, huh?
And I told her, don't. And if that's what you choose not to do, don't do it. Because so
Mm,
much of my life, you know, it's not that I missed out on because I wanted to live a certain way, but I cared what my parents thought that I
mm.
was raised with. I wanted to make them proud. I wanted to do things that made them proud. And so drinking and drugging did not make them proud. But I think, had we had some honest conversations early on, I might have thought differently of it.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so I can share my experience, strength, and hope with them. Mean that they're not gonna, doesn't mean they're gonna throw their life away, but it doesn't mean it's gonna save them either. But I think
Mm.
they can make a much more informed decision in their life.
I think, Laurie, that with the more and more awareness, I mean, about mental health issues, about addiction, about people just being more aware of genetics and tendencies and things, it can only serve to help us all. Because when we're informed, like you said, you might not have had children had you known those things. So
Mhm.
maybe just helping your grandchildren understand what their genetic predisposition is. That's your
Right.
gift to them, so that they can navigate through life with knowledge and power and understanding.
Mhm. So I've told her, don't have kids just because you think that's what society wants you to, or your father isn't going to have any grandchildren unless you do it because you're his only child. Don't let him lay that on you. You know, don't do it because like I said, I love my children. I I don't want to say I loved raising them alone, but I made it. I did the best I could. My parents were amazingly helpful. I didn't have a lot of siblings. My brother passed away before my children were born. So, yeah, I try to instill in my granddaughters, that they have to live life for them, you know, because eventually we're all gone. And if you're standing there at 20, 30, 40 years old but not living in your own, what makes you happy, what drives you, if you're not doing that, you're not, you're going to miss out. And then when everybody else is gone, you'll be standing around wondering, I
Mm.
should have done this, or I should have done that, or I don't want them to ever do that.
Exactly. LB asked, with all of that, all of the trauma and what you've lived through, plus the physical pain, how do you do it?
Mhm.
I think compartmentalizing is a very useful tool with all of that. For me, I that's
Yeah, yeah,
box it up and open it when needed. Not ignore it forever, but don't let them intertwine, right?
right. And I have my moments.
Don't we all? Adam
Oh,
can attest to my moments. Poor Adam.
um, I don't know if I've gotten used to it. I don't know that you can get used to death, dying. I don't. like I said, I've experienced now, you know, just every form of death, long-term illness, short-term illness, sudden, unexpected death. Uh, my brother drowned fishing after, he was blown off a tank in Vietnam, survived that, come home and do what loves doing what he loves to do, and he falls in the water and drowns.
Mm.
Life just is so precious, and we've got to live it. We've got to live it true to ourselves. True to ourselves, I guess, not
Yes.
under. I tell my, and I get, my grandkids will say, "No offense, grandma, but I don't want to be like you." And I said,
Oof.
"What is wrong with me?" I says, "I love my life now. I really do. I enjoy what I enjoy, and I don't do what I don't enjoy anymore. You know,
Yes.
I've I fi- I finally made it to the stage where I can say I've never been that one that has openly said fuck you, but now well, I have always swore, but I haven't told society and family fuck you, but kind of like I do now. I'm 60 now. I really don't much care what you think.
Zero fucks given, Laurie.
Well,
Zero fucks given.
I wish maybe I hadn't waited this long to do that, but
That's what's with age. I think for most people, and again, I think particularly neurodivergent people, as we get older, we're like, you know what? Fuck this. I've been who everybody else wanted me to be for the longest time. I'm going to be me. Suck it if you don't like it. The ones who, these ones, you guys, the chat, us, we like it, and we identify with that because we're all in, I think, very similar folks.
yeah, and that onion of grief, for my sweetheart, for Harley, it's weird because music. Oh,
I can't point. This is so
oh,
hard. There we go. It's
Lori.
Laurie, like 60
Yeah.
LJ. Yes, sorry, continue.
Oh, okay. So Harley actually died in September. It would be September 25th. Uh, but one of the things, it was like a year after he died in September. I ended up in treatment, and I actually ended up in treatment in the women's section where his stepson was in the male part, but we hadn't seen each other since his dad had died. And so we had been there, and I'll never forget it. The song that came on at the time was "Wake Me Up When September Ends."
Ah,
And it was just like I just had this. I knew everything was going to be okay. When I saw Todd, I knew. And so I have music that'll come on. Like it seems like every death has a different song that I associate with it.
yes,
And that's generally how and when I tend to lose it. is if the person's out for my daughter now, it was If I Die Young. So that song comes on, I lose it for the entirety. I let it
mm,
flow, but and then, like I said, for Harley, it was Wake Me Up When September Ends. I can Smoke on the Water for my brother.
ah,
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, Miss Lisa, Miss Shorty,
I'm all of the things. Call me whatever you want, Laurie. Call me a
I
fucking delight.
are a fucking delight. And I love saying it that way.
It's cool, huh? I think that
Yeah.
was Nick. I think that might have been Nick Francis who gave me that one. Maybe. I don't know. But if the shoe fits, I'll fucking wear it, right?
Right.
Thank you
I have a
so much, Laurie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I've always wanted to get to Australia someday. I had a friend, a family friend actually, who was a paraplegic, believe it or not. He
Ah,
flew to Australia, but the freaking airline lost his wheelchair. And back
What?
then, and he had a customized wheelchair. Yeah, it was terrible, I guess. So he
Jesus.
spent his first week in Sydney, I think is where he went, or Melbourne, without his custom wheelchair. So he was very adventurous, and stuff. But so when I hear your accent, I just get all kind of I think
Well, I was going to say, actually, I would like to have an Aussie accent off with Aussie Insider, because I mean, some people like Aussie's accent better, others like mine better. Some people say my accent's thicker than Aussie Insider's, and I don't know. To me, I just sound like me, and to me,
well,
she sounds super Australian. So I'm not sure.
I
Aussie's
think it's weird. It's a Boston Australian accent. And
yes.
that's what I couldn't figure out when I thought, boy, you sound like East Coast Boston.
It's very similar. The way we do our but you guys have to put like to say like shark and horror, like you do different things. The Australian accent is rather lazy. Our mouths stay very closed, and it comes from the outback and flies buzzing all around. It's not that bad now, but in the colonial days,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
people's mouths stayed closed to not let flies in their mouth. So that's why we be classy, Laurie. Get those flies out of your damn mouth.
I tell you what, the Aussies know how to talk. That's for sure.
Never. I don't even talk. I can't talk. I'm a wallflower.
Barbie. What's the Barbie? Say shrimp on a Barbie.
We don't even say shrimp. We say prawns, but shrimp on a Barbie. Barbie. It's Barbie. I'm teaching Adam how to say words with accent. He's pretty good. Shackers, Aussie, not Aussie. He's getting there. He's getting there. Okay, well, chat's saying thank you so much, and I've actually got
Yes,
a,
I know.
number 3 for the night. If you wanted to stick around, folks, we're going to talk about the Carly Gregg case next, the young child, just convicted for life for murdering her mother and attempting to kill her stepfather, life without parole, tried as an adult. So, if you
That
want to
was
stick
really
around, you
hard for me too.
yes. So, well, come into the chat.
I
It's
will.
going to be an interesting conversation. But, mwah, Laurie, chat loves you. I
I
love you.
love you guys, all of you guys. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thanks, Laurie, so much. Well, there it is, shorties. Isn't she amazing? Wow. How honored. I feel honored. Always. Every guest we have on in Camp Shorty. It's just such a special thing. Thank you much. Thank you, Aussie Insider, for sending your squad in here. Aussie has more of a drawl. Nick, I knew you'd back me on this. I mean, I'm a city slicker, and I feel like Aussie sounds a little more. Well, she's more regional. I don't think either. I don't know. I'm going to choke on my words here. God got me. Okay, fine. Aussie Insider's accent's better. Yikes. All right. Oh, crikey, says Biffle. Sorry. I want a giraffe. We don't have giraffes here. Peace out, y'all. I'm going to play the outro. Melissa Asylum, Adam Drives Helen. Make sure you subscribe to both of them. Love your faces. See you in 10, y'all. Yeah? Yeah. Let's play it before I die of choking. Mwah.